The invitation didn't arrive because of a lucky draw. It wasn't the result of a sponsorship deal or a celebrity connection. It came after years of relentless work, countless hours on the practice court, and a breakthrough season that forced the entire sports world to pay attention. One quiet notification changed everything. Alex Eala, the young tennis star from the Philippines, had been invited to one of the most exclusive nights in global fashion, the Met Gala. But here's the real question nobody could answer yet. How does a tennis player, someone trained to fight alone on a court, suddenly walk into a room full of the most famous faces on the planet, and belong there? For most athletes, winning tournaments is the ultimate dream. But every so often, a player reaches a point where their influence stretches far beyond the court. They stop representing only their sport and start representing an entire culture. That was exactly where Alex found herself. She wasn't simply arriving as another famous athlete. She was stepping into an event reserved for the world's biggest entertainers, designers, actors, musicians, and cultural icons. For millions of Filipinos watching around the world, it felt like something bigger than fashion. It felt like history. The Met Gala has always carried an air of mystery. Every year, hundreds of celebrities hope for an invitation, yet only a small number ever receive one. Money can't buy a seat. Fame alone isn't enough either. Every guest has to fit the vision of the event, which makes the invitation itself a symbol of global recognition. That's exactly why Alex Eala's name on that list surprised so many people. Only a few years earlier, she was known mainly among dedicated tennis fans. Her career was built quietly, through junior tournaments, long hours of training, and steady improvement against some of the toughest competition in women's tennis. She wasn't chasing headlines, she was chasing victories. Slowly, those victories began to arrive. Each tournament added another chapter to her growing reputation. Every upset over a higher-ranked opponent made more people curious about the young Filipina who played with fearless confidence. Coaches praised her maturity. Analysts admired her composure under pressure. Fans loved how she carried herself, whether she won or lost. Then came the season that changed everything. Her performances on tennis' biggest stages turned her from a promising prospect into one of the sport's fastest-rising names. Television audiences grew. Media attention exploded. Interviews multiplied. People who had never once followed Filipino tennis suddenly knew exactly who Alex Eala was. But something else, something quieter, was happening behind the scenes. Fashion brands had started paying attention. Unlike many athletes who keep sports and lifestyle in separate boxes, Alex seemed comfortable being both. Whether in training gear, at official events, or in magazine features, she carried a kind of confidence that never felt forced. Her style felt authentic instead of manufactured. That authenticity became one of her greatest strengths. Instead of abandoning her identity to fit international trends, she leaned into her Filipino roots. Every public appearance carried a subtle reminder of where she came from. Rather than hiding her heritage, she let it become part of her public image. People noticed. Magazine editors noticed. Luxury brands noticed. Fashion photographers noticed. Soon, she wasn't just appearing on sports pages anymore. Lifestyle publications began featuring her story. Interviews focused not only on her forehand and backhand, but on her journey, her personality, and her growing influence beyond tennis. For someone so early in her professional career, it was an extraordinary transformation, and the Met Gala invitation was proof of exactly that. This wasn't an athlete being rewarded for winning matches, it was recognition that Alex had become a global ambassador for a new generation of Filipino talent. That responsibility carried enormous weight. Every time she walked into an international arena, millions of young athletes back home saw themselves in her. Children watching television no longer imagined success as something reserved for bigger, richer sporting nations. They could now point to someone from their own country competing and winning on the world's biggest stages. You can't measure that kind of connection with statistics. You can't calculate it through rankings. You can't count it through trophies. And yet, sometimes, it becomes the most powerful achievement of all. As news of her invitation spread online, social media lit up. Fans celebrated it like she'd won another championship. Messages poured in from across the Philippines and from Filipino communities abroad. Many called it proof that their country was finally getting recognized far beyond traditional sports. For them, Alex wasn't just representing tennis anymore. She was representing possibility. International media grew curious too. Reporters wanted to know how someone from Manila had become one of the most talked about rising stars in both sports and fashion at once. Articles dug into her discipline, her upbringing, the sacrifice behind the sudden spotlight. And yet, despite all the noise, the people closest to Alex kept describing her the same way. Calm, focused, grounded. Success had changed her opportunities, but it hadn't touched her personality. And maybe that was exactly what made her stand out. In an age where headlines are often built on controversy, Alex let her performance speak louder than any dramatic interview or viral moment ever could. The Met Gala would become one more test of that same quiet strength. Because unlike a tennis match, there would be no scoreboard here. No opponent across the net. No umpire to call the final result. Instead, Every step would be watched by cameras, every detail dissected across the globe. Fashion critics, photographers, designers, and millions of viewers would judge everything, from the cut of her outfit to the story stitched into it. For someone used to competing under pressure, this was a completely different kind of pressure. And maybe the real question was never whether Alex Eala belonged at the Met Gala. The invitation had already answered that. The real question was this: how would a young Filipina athlete use one of the world's biggest cultural stages to tell the story of where she came from? That answer was about to grab the attention of millions. The moment finally arrived. As evening settled over New York City, cameras lined the entrance of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Reporters adjusted their microphone. Photographers tested their lenses. Fans pressed against security barriers, hoping for a glimpse of the world's biggest stars. Every year, the Met Gala produces unforgettable moments.
Hollywood legend, music superstars, fashion icon, Olympic champion, Academy Award winners.
For one night, they all walked the same carpet. This year, one more name had quietly joined that list:
Alex Eala.
For many people outside tennis, this was their very first introduction to her. They may not have followed her matches or known her ranking, but they were about to discover the story behind one of the fastest rising names in international sport. Unlike celebrities who tease their outfits for months, Alex stayed quiet. She let the curiosity build on its own. Then she stepped onto the carpet, and the flashes turned nearly continuous.
Every camera turned.
Every photographer wanted the shot. Because this wasn't just another athlete at a glamorous party. This was someone carrying the hopes of an entire sporting nation on her shoulder. Instead of chasing attention through extravagance, Alex chose something far more meaningful. Her outfit celebrated her Filipino identity. Rather than blending in, she chose to stand out as exactly who she was and where she came from. That single decision resonated instantly. Across social media, people praised the balance of elegance and authenticity. She hadn't copied Hollywood trends or bent to fit every fashion expectation. She simply showed up with quiet confidence, letting her heritage become the centerpiece of the entire story. That choice mattered, because fashion has always been more than clothing.
It tells stories.
It communicates values. Sometimes it becomes a reflection of national pride. And for Filipino viewers watching from around the world, seeing one of their own carry that identity onto fashion's biggest stage created something far deeper than admiration for a nice outfit. It created pride. What made the night even more remarkable was how naturally Alex fit into a world completely different from professional tennis. Just weeks earlier, she'd been preparing for high-pressure matches against elite opponents. Now she stood among actors, musicians, designers, and some of the most influential names on the planet.
And still, she looked completely at ease.
That kind of composure isn't built overnight. Years of competing on international courts had already prepared her for exactly this kind of moment. Professional athletes learn to perform while thousands watch their every move. They learn to manage pressure. They learn to stay composed when the whole world is expecting something from them. Those same instincts carried her through one of the most photographed red carpets on earth. By the next morning, the images had spread everywhere. Newspapers, websites, every corner of social media. Sports pages covered the appearance. Fashion magazines analyzed the styling. Lifestyle publications explored the meaning behind it all.
The crossover was complete.
Alex Eala was no longer seen only as a tennis player. She had become a public figure whose influence stretched across multiple worlds at once: sport, fashion, and culture, all colliding in a single night. That kind of shift doesn't happen by accident. It only happens to athletes whose achievements start inspiring people who've never even picked up their sport. And maybe that was the biggest lesson of the entire evening. Success isn't measured only in trophies. Championships matter. Rankings matter.
Titles matter.
But lasting influence comes from something deeper, from inspiring people who may never touch a tennis racket in their life. Young girls in Manila could now imagine competing internationally. Future designers could see Filipino creativity earning global attention. Families everywhere could see proof that talent, paired with real discipline, can open doors that once seemed impossible. Alex's journey was a reminder that dreams grow quietly long before the world ever notices them. Long before the magazine covers. Long before the international headline. Long before the invitation to exclusive events. There were ordinary practice sessions, early morning, painful losses, hard choices, countless sacrifices made without a single camera watching. Those unseen moments built the foundation for everything that came after. That's exactly why her story keeps resonating. People don't just admire the glamorous moment, they admire the years of invisible work it took to earn them. But what happened after the cameras stopped flashing may have mattered even more than the red carpet itself. Within hours, the photos were everywhere. News outlets covered the story from every angle. Some focused on the fashion, others on the deeper significance of a Filipina athlete standing shoulder to shoulder with some of the most recognizable names on the planet. But the loudest reactions didn't come from celebrity. They came from ordinary people.
Students, young athletes, parents,
Filipinos living abroad, thousands of miles from home. Many described the moment as deeply personal. For years, Filipino sports fans had celebrated champions in boxing, weightlifting, basketball, and beauty pageants. Tennis had rarely been part of that global conversation. Now, that was starting to change. Alex wasn't replacing those heroes. she was expanding what Filipino success could even look like. And that shift matters, because representation always begins with one person daring to dream bigger than anyone believed was possible. The kids watching from home weren't analyzing red carpet fashion. They were seeing someone who looked like them, standing confidently on one of the biggest stages in the world. Sometimes inspiration starts with a photograph, sometimes with a story, and sometimes it starts with one simple thought: if she can do it, maybe I can too. That single idea can change a life. Throughout her career, Alex never set out to become a global symbol. She simply focused on becoming a better tennis player. But success has a way of handing you responsibilities nobody warns you about. The bigger her profile grew, the more people looked to her for inspiration, and every interview, every appearance, every small decision started to carry weight far beyond herself. To her credit, Alex handled that pressure with striking maturity. She never chased controversy. She never manufactured drama for attention. Instead, she kept turning the conversation back to gratitude, hard work, and the people who had helped her get there. That humility became one of her defining qualities, and even international journalists picked up on it. Instead of dramatic headlines, her interviews revealed someone thoughtful, disciplined, and remarkably grounded despite the growing fame around her. Maybe that's exactly why brands and organizations wanted to work with her. Modern ambassadors aren't chosen just because they win. They're chosen because people trust them, because their image feels real, and audiences believe in what they represent. Alex had quietly built exactly that kind of reputation: excellence without arrogance, confidence without ego, ambition without ever losing sight of where she came from. That's not something a marketing team can manufacture. It only comes from years of consistent character. As conversations about the Met Gala kept spreading, one bold question started circulating online. Could Alex Eala become one of the biggest global sports personalities the Philippines has ever produced, not just in tennis, but across every sport? It's an ambitious question. Reaching that level takes far more than talent. It takes consistency, longevity, major titles, the ability to stay relevant year after year, season after season. Alex herself would probably be the first to admit there's still a long road ahead. Professional tennis never stands still. New stars keep rising. Veteran champions refuse to fade. Every tournament brings a fresh opportunity and a fresh obstacle. One great season guarantees nothing about the next. Maybe that's exactly what keeps her motivated. Instead of celebrating one milestone too long, she keeps returning to training with the same hunger that got her here in the first place. Because underneath all the noise, her real goals have never changed: win matches, improve every season, compete against the very best. Everything else, the interviews, the magazine covers, the partnerships, the red carpets, happens alongside that mission, never in place of it. That balance might be her greatest strength of all. Many athletes lose themselves once global fame arrives. Distractions multiply. Expectations pile up. Outside opportunities start competing with the sport itself, and staying focused becomes a daily battle. Alex seems determined not to let that happen to her. Her journey stays rooted in tennis. Everything else simply grows out from there. That kind of discipline earns real respect in the sporting world, because true greatness is never built through headlines. It's built through the habits nobody ever sees: hours of practice, fitness sessions before sunrise, studying opponents, recovering from bruising defeats, repeating the same small routines 1,000 times over. Those ordinary moments keep going long after the glamorous nights fade away. Eventually, the lights at the Metropolitan Museum dimmed. The guests went home. The headlines moved on to the next story. But Alex Eala's story was far from finished, and judging by everything she's already achieved, the most exciting chapters may still be ahead of her. Whether her future holds Grand Slam titles, more red carpets, or entirely new milestones nobody's predicted yet, one thing already feels certain: she's proven that dreams born on local courts can reach the biggest stages in the world. Not because someone handed her the opportunity, but because she earned every single step of it herself. And maybe that's the most powerful message her journey leaves behind. Real success was never about arriving at glamorous events. It's about becoming the kind of person who deserves to be there. For Alex Eala, that journey is still being written, and millions of people will keep watching, not just for where she goes next, but for everything she continues to represent for an entire generation.